Okay, so let's say you've hired an attorney to represent you in your personal accident case. You paid him an extraordinary amount of money and you want good representation. And just before the trial starts, he comes to you and he says, by the way, I also represent the other party in this lawsuit. But don't worry, it's okay, I'll treat you both fair and square. What's wrong with this picture? One, you've hired the attorney to be your personal pit bull. You want them to aggressively pursue your best interest and to take good care of you. Also, how do you know he's treating you fairly? You paid him a lot of money, and these are things that you don't know. Now, many of you have already jumped ahead and realized that I'm not talking about your lawsuit. I'm talking about dual agency. And IBR has a long-standing belief that dual agency is not good for anyone. Your seller is paying you good money to represent their best interests, to be their own personal pit bull. And that's what you want to do. That's part of that relationship. Secondly, in dual agency, if it goes to a court of law, you will never win. I don't care how good you are. A smart attorney will convince the jury that the relationship got out of balance and that somewhere, somehow, you represented one party more than the other party. It's just a fact of law that you will lose. But the reality is sometimes dual agency will occur. It's just unavoidable. Two agents from the same company representing a buyer, one representing a seller, being at an open house, buyer walks in and wants to buy the property right then and there. You tell them to go get an attorney or to get a representation, and they say, no, I'm ready to go right now. And your fiduciary responsibility with your seller says that you got to deal with it. So what are your options? One, you can offer advice. You've been doing this for a long time, and you know a lot of things, so you can tell the buyer one thing and the seller something else and support their causes, and while maintaining confidentiality. The way the laws are written is that as soon as you give advice to one person that could be considered to be to the detriment of the other person, you broke the law. And there's no two ways of getting around it. So you don't want to break the law. So what is your other option? Well, you could just do nothing. You could be the order taker. You could fill out the forms and not give any advice and complete a transaction that way. But as we've talked about, might not be the best way to go. I think that we need to always have more value in relationships, and anything that we do to minimize that ultimately hurts us as an industry. So what do? I recommend that you get in writing the fact that you will be offering advice to the seller and to the buyer, and that it could be construed that it's to the detriment of one party over the other. But by putting it down on paper, you're making people understand the relationship that much better. You're offering value in the relationship, and as long as you maintain confidentiality, the chances of you not getting in trouble have been increased. Agency law in Minnesota it's complicated, it's dangerous, it's troublesome. But until they change agency laws, I think that your best bet is to get both parties to understand that you're giving advice on both sides of it. But as Michael Conrad used to say in Hill Street Blues, let's be careful out there.